most underrated draft. Which draft class here is going underrated, under the radar that people aren't talking about enough?
Yeah, I don't know if people aren't talking about it enough, this draft class, but I think this one's getting way too much hate for as kind of good as it was. So I think it's the Dallas Cowboys, right? They've been stellar drafts. This one looked like it took a step back. I wasn't impressed with it until I actually got home and started, thinking about it. Drafting Mozzie Smith in the first, right? That seemed like a little bit of a reach. We had never mocked Mazzie in the first. He was always a second round guy for us. The more I think about it, right, their biggest problem last year was teams could go right up the middle on them, run. They've never spent any real draft capita in that middle spot. So to grab a guy as strong as Mozzie, this guy is an elite player. He really is. And then address their tight end need in Luke Schoonmaker at 2. Draft a linebacker, DeMarvion Overshawn, which might have the best name of the whole draft, from Texas. Draft him at 3, pair him with Micah Parsons. They grabbed an edge from San Jose State. They grabbed Deuce Vaughn, right? A little running back, can take the relief off of Tony Pollard, be more of that scat back where Tony Pollard takes that step to be the main back in this backfield. They also drafted a wide receiver really late that I kind of liked. I think his name was Brooks, if I'm not wrong. I think it was Brooks.
Jalen Brooks.
From South Carolina. He's a kind of a sleeper guy. He's not gonna make a huge splash, but it could be another special team find for them, kind of like Turpin was last year. I really think this draft is a lot better than people think. I just think I think Mozzie Smith coming out of nowhere kind of scared a lot of people and surprised them. But I think this is another solid draft from them boys.
Yeah, for them boys, for them to do nothing.
Probably, but still, they're a good drafting team.
They do have a good record of drafting, especially in the first round. So it'll be interesting to see how that Mozzie pick turns out. But I'm gonna go here with my arch nemesis, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh.
I haven't seen any hate of their draft, but I haven't seen any love, and I think they should definitely be getting some love. I think they had a great draft here, especially for what their team needs were. So obviously there in the defense, you look about what was their issue, right, in the AFC Championship game. They could not get to Mahomes, and when they get to Mahomes, he was 20 feet out of bounds. Ended up losing in the game. So they go after Miles Murphy, right? At that point, pick 29. That was Miles Murphy. He was a late riser, or some were mocking him, within the top 15. So the fact that he fell to them there, on that pre-draft hype,
Yeah.
was impressive, right? They didn't have to go there. They could take, what their best pass rusher available was. So that was a great get. They get DJ Turner in the second round, the cornerback out of Michigan, a super set. If I'm not mistaken, he was the fastest
Person at the combine.
at the combine. So, I mean, the dude can run, and you're going to have to go with those track meets. So, obviously, they're going to be going against the Bills, and they're going to be against the Chiefs, right? Those are the big honchos. So, who can cover those speedy receivers, especially on the Chiefs end? You got Kadarius Toney, you got Sky Moore. Those guys, are fast. So, to get somebody that cover them is important. And then, obviously, addressing the safety position, Jordan Battle. I love Jordan Battle. He was obviously very overshadowed, obviously, because of Brian Branch, and rightfully so. But Jordan Battle is definitely nothing to sneeze at. So they lost both of their safeties in the offseason, so it definitely needed to address that position. So I got good value with Battle in round 3. And then your sleeper, Charlie Jones. They grabbed Charlie Jones there, a receiver, a good quality guy that's going to be able to come in and rack up the catches, right? He's going to be able to go in there and catches. And then one of my top 5 running backs in round 5, Chase Brown, running back out of Illinois, to go in there to come in and compete there for backup spot. They have a spot that opened up because what's his name? P. Ryan left. I forget who he went to.
And Joe Mixon, who knows what's happening with him.
Yeah, with his kind of off the field stuff. So definitely a guy that can get in there. So I think they got great value in each round at positions of need, to be able to continue to, they didn't have glaring needs, right? They're a Super Bowl caliber team. They had that figured out. It's just getting, put it on the field, every single week and every single Arrowhead Invitational to be able to go ahead and perform. And so I think they really nailed this draft. They got great value, and it's not being talked about enough.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a lot of people just kind of brushing off that draft. They seem to get every position that they needed in this draft. and get them for good value, right? That's the secret to drafting is you don't want to reach for a position of need, but you want to try to fill all of them. That seems to be exactly what the Bengals did. Did they get some of the top notch guys at every position? Probably not, but they got guys that can compete right away and guys that can, Charlie Jones is going to come in and he's going to be a force on the, even if he's just special team return game. He can do that, right? So to get a guy that you can plug in day one, maybe not where you want him eventually, but plug in day one and just get him out there on the football field is amazing value in like the fourth, fifth round. So I agree. The Bengals had a pretty good draft, kind of a sneaky, perfect underrated, right? When it was happening, you didn't think anything of it. Then you get home and you kind of, hey, they did pretty good.
No, that's exactly what I mean. It was like when they were getting these players, I was like, man, they went to the Bengals because they're players like I liked, and I was like,
Yeah.
going to the Bengals, they're going to the Bengals, they're going to the Bengals, the team I don't like, the team that doesn't need these players. So, nope, I agree. Sitting back there, I was like, man, I really liked their draft class. I think they pulled off the heist of the century here this past weekend. I think it'll pay dividends early for them this year.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was underrated drafts. Let's go ahead and do overrated. So which draft class is getting a lot of hype and a lot of love that really probably shouldn't be?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if this doesn't deserve some of it, but this draft class by the Eagles, I've heard nothing. Like this is the talk of the draft, right? They grabbed all those Bulldogs. Everyone loves it. They were just in the Super Bowl, and then they grabbed every position in need, right? And they grabbed like the best players ever. But some of them, right? I think the Nolan Smith pick is one of the best picks in the first round. Jalen Carter, we both predicted he'd go at 9. He went in the perfect spot where he might expire. But the more you think about it, him as a starter at Georgia played less snaps in a season than the backup Lucas Van Ness did at Iowa because he can't play 100%. I think it was kind of overlooked. And Tyler Steen, right? We had a regard about Tyler Steen not being able to be the old lineman that Alabama needed, right? Bryce Young kind of developed that pocket movement outside of Tyler Steen, right? He had to get out of the pocket because it wasn't just Tyler. The Alabama line hadn't been as good as we've seen in the past. But like Keely Ringo in the fourth round, right? Keely Ringo is a very, very talented player, but he's gonna need a lot of just a lot of time, right? If he's ever going to play for anything. He had one of the worst 3-cone drills we've ever seen. He can't change, can't track a wide receiver. They drafted a quarterback for whatever reason, right? Tanner McKee. I think it was one of PFF's like top 2 quarterbacks in this draft. Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee has bricks for feet. Very, very pocket passer like. I don't know why you would draft a quarterback that doesn't fit the scheme you have going on right now. But I don't think this is a bad draft by all. That's not what I'm saying. I like a lot of these players. Sidney Brown's a steal. I just think this one we need to pump the brakes a little bit. It's easy to say they were just in the Super Bowl, then they got the best draft, they're favorites, right? Kind of what we did to the Bills last year, right? They grabbed a couple free agents. Bills look good in the playoffs, and now we pop them up. I think we just need to pump the brakes a little bit. Say they had a good draft, but not get too carried away.
Yeah, and like Howie Roseman is the talk of the town. Not to mention he pulled off that trade of with DeAndre Swift
Yeah,
to get DeAndre Swift for Lions. So yeah, I mean, so I like the Eagles draft for sure. It is definitely getting a lot of hype. I think that the trade for DeAndre Swift is getting more hype than the actual draft itself, and so I would agree on that one. That's being all right, just because DeAndre Swift, yes, he's a heck of a player, but he's also injured a lot of the time. When he's out there, he's good, but I don't know if DeAndre. Everyone's like, "Oh, this offense now is going to be unstoppable." It's like, is DeAndre
yes.
Swift? Is he really better than Miles Sanders was?
Is he
Like,
better than Rashawn Penny? I
like
don't
I
think so.
mean, I don't really know. Like, it might just
Yeah,
be a lateral movement, not necessarily moving up. And so that for me is like where I'm pumping the brakes on that trade. I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't really think that that's necessarily going to change anything, if I'm being honest. I mean, I think the running game there is going to be fine, but it's mostly going to be driven by Jalen Hurts. Not a knock on Hurts. I'm not saying he can't
no,
throw the ball; he absolutely can. But just the running game, with Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Swift is going to miss half of the season anyway with his injuries, and so you might get him for a couple of games. Maybe he's healthy for the playoff run, but I don't really know if that's going to make you know, is that gonna what's make them the Super Bowl contenders? Like, was that what their problem was with against the Chiefs? Like, not really. So, just kind of a man trade, with that DeAndre Swift. I don't think he adds as much value as some people are saying.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing is they lost, right, a lot of linebackers. They lost. I mean, I know they got a lot of defensive line, right? They love that defensive line. They didn't really address the linebacker at all, right? They lost their starting linebacker. They rumors right now is they're trying to trade for Patrick Queen. That'll make it look a lot better. But I thought I was just I thought maybe their defensive back was more that what cost them, and they in the draft, and they didn't draft one until the late third round, late fourth round, right? They elected to go offensive line and edge twice, or defensive line twice. So good picks. I just think that they could have. I don't know. I think just I think it's a very good draft. I just think the quality of draft is getting compared to already proven prospect, and I think we just need to pump the brakes a little bit.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you. So here on my kind of overrated draft is actually a team that you already talked on, and then for me, it's actually the NFC East rivals of the Eagles, and it's actually going to be the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh,
And so I just I was looking on that, and I think they really wanted Dalton Kincaid in the first round. I think that was their pick. And then when the Bills jumped up there and traded up to go and get him, I think that really threw a kink in their plans. You saw, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a video of them how they actually made the Mozzie pick. They were going back and forth, kind of, and it was good. Like I imagine that exactly what it is. At that point, like the guy you really really want's gone, so you have to kind of go to your number 2 or number 3 pick there in the first round. But to me, it just kind of sounded like they weren't really sure what this pick would be if
yeah,
it was going to be Dalton Kincaid. Whereas the previous drafts, I felt they were 100% certain, who they wanted. Like it was going to be CeeDee Lamb, 100%. It was going to be Micah Parsons, 100%. And they did that in this draft, right? It was, hasn't been said, but I'm almost certain, the 100% they wanted Kincaid, and that didn't work. And so they kind of had to pivot there, and it just seemed like it was just kind of to me, like Mozzie Smith there. Uh, Definitely a late first rounder. I could see that here, but I don't know. Maybe some other players that were still there available. And so for
yeah,
me, well, in time will tell, right? But and then the Luke Shoemaker pick at number 2, that tight end went fast. That tight end run went super
yes,
fast, a lot quicker than I thought would have happened. Um, but when you look there, Luke Shoemaker is good, but Darnell Washington was still there. Like, is he actually going to be better? He was one of the top tight ends, obviously not for the Cowboys, and just some of their other picks were just kind of just picks. I wasn't really uh, excited about any of their picks. Like maybe it's just because I'm looking at like their past drafts where like they drafted 100% absolutely studs, like right off the bat, like no question. And with this one, I have multiple questions about each kind of player that they had. I see them getting a lot of love, and so this is what I'm saying. Like, hold the brakes here. I'm just not entirely sold on any one of these players that they drafted. And so for me, maybe it's the Missourian in me being from the Show Me State, but for me, I want to just need to see kind of how these players work out for the Cowboys before I can come in and say, okay, yeah, that hype was deserved.
yeah. I understand that, right? I think it's funny because I've seen nothing but C's and D's on the Cowboys draft board, and you've seen them getting a lot of love. So it's
Oh
funny,
wow,
that just shows that no one really knows anything about the
no one
draft. That's
knows
what makes
anything.
it so great.